Hey everyone, it's Shotzi for the Rough Cuts on Sunday. I hope you've been having a great week. I'm going to be talking about another documentary this week, and this is Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles. I don't remember who was talking about the Toynbee Tiles fairly recently. I think it may have been Kate. Kate reads books, I think. I'm not positive, but I think that's who it was. And then another one of our YouTube friends here, at least for like Adam, Rob, and I, and like various other people who have reviewed on this channel. Janabelle was also talking about it yesterday, and she posted a trailer for it. And so that's when I was thinking, you know what? I'll talk about this movie. It's not really a movie, it's a documentary. Well, that is a movie, okay. I will talk about this documentary. Now, the Toynbee Tiles, it's still kind of a mystery, although this documentary does solve a lot of it, but there is still like several questions that are left unanswered. For those of you who are not familiar with the Toynbee Tiles, in what started in Philadelphia, but it has spread over the last few decades, there were tiles all over the city that would say Toynbee Idea 2001, or I think it's like Toynbee Idea, like the film 2001, Resurrect Dead, Planet Jupiter. And these tiles would be in the ground, various parts of the city. And it was all along the northeastern United States and also in South America, mainly in Chile. And so most people didn't notice these because when you're just walking along, a lot of times people don't look at the ground, or they don't really look at anything around them. Signs are everywhere, postings are everywhere, but most people just walk right by, especially if it's something that's there every single day. And a few people became intrigued by these tiles over the years, and of those few people who were intrigued by them, some of them became obsessed with the tiles and wanted to find out what they were, who was putting them there, and why they were putting them there. So this documentary follows a small group of people who were friends, like before this, and some of them who kind of joined along the way because they were also trying to find out what was going on with the tiles, what was behind the tiles, the message that the person was trying to convey. So they made this documentary. It took 5.5 years for them to make this documentary. And it mainly follows Justin Duerr, who is kind of an eccentric. He's an artist, and he first became fascinated with the tiles in, I think, 1994 when he saw the first one. And since then, he started seeing them all around the city, and he started to take pictures of them. Then in the mid-90s, when the internet became of use to him, he went to the library. That's when his library got it. And he started to look up the Toynbee tiles to see if he could find answers. He couldn't. There was nothing on them until about a year later. And then all of these, messages start popping up. And he started realizing that these tiles were in other cities. And he became even more interested. And then that interest turned into obsession. And that's what brought he and these other guys on the road to solving this mystery. It goes everywhere from like artist circles to shortwave radio festivals. And it's really fascinating. And when they got closer to solving this and figuring out what was going on, who the person or people were, that's when they started backing off. Because, like, when we're seeing the things in this documentary, that's all in real time that they're discovering these things. Because they were actually filming, I think, from like 2005 until 2007. That's why there's such a drastic change in the looks of like Justin, Colin, and Steve in this, because that's over like a 2.5-year period when they're actually filming all of the footage that they have. And when they're finding out all of these things about the Tyler, that's when they start backing off, because they don't know if they're dealing with someone who is mentally unstable. They know the person is of very high intelligence, but they also know that the Tyler is very, very private. Although initially, when these began in the early 80s, he wanted to make everything very, very well known, very public, taking over like people's televisions, like during the news when he had like this giant antenna on the back of his car, and he would broadcast the Toynbee idea as he would drive along. So he would make himself privately public back then, but he became very, very reclusive over the years. And when they were finding this out, they started backing off. So a lot of people who watch this, they're very split between, and this was also discussed during like the Q&A when this was shown at Sundance, that some people feel as though they delved too deeply into this and they really invaded the Tyler's privacy. Other people felt as though they didn't go far enough with it and not everything was answered. But I think everything that needed to be answered was answered in it. And I think what makes this documentary so successful is that the guys, they really believe like in this idea of what the Tyler was trying to convey. And they understand that obsession because they themselves have shared this obsession over, the last, it was 20 years at this point, ever since they first noticed the tiles. And some of you may have seen these tiles around your towns, especially if you live in the northeastern United States. I remember at one point when I was watching this, well, really for about 20 minutes, especially when they were zeroing in on South Philadelphia and describing like the Tyler and all this, I kept on wondering, oh my gosh, I wonder if it's my uncle. I seriously thought it may have been my uncle because, well, anyway, it's not my uncle. It's not my uncle. But it's that similar kind of mentality, that similar just frame of mind and thought process, and how the person would go about doing all of these things. And for people who think that there's so much that's left unanswered with this, or how they knew certain things, and people who think that this is a fake documentary, I really don't understand that. I guess it's because, like, growing up, how do I even put this? I was always very, very shy, and people who know me now, they know me as being a pretty reclusive person. I don't go out that often. When I do my traveling, like I go by myself, things like that. You just don't want to deal with other people. And also when dealing with this, you became very introspective and you noticed things that are around you that a lot of people just don't see. It's like they look at things around them, but they don't really observe what's really there, even though it's like right in front of your face. And so there's certain nuances that you pick up. And, Justin and the Tyler, you can see that they have a whole lot of parallels with each other. And that's why this kind of like left off where it did. Because he wanted to understand, and then finally he did understand what was going on and why he had to just let go of this obsession of his. And so I think everything that needs to be answered does get answered in this. This is a great documentary. It's really low budget. There's like no budget. This was truly a labor of love between these people that were doing it. And I think it's definitely something that you guys should watch. And if you see these tiles, take pictures of them, because some of the cities where the tiles are, like the city is actively destroying them. Like they would go through the website where people have spotted these tiles and they go to those locations and they tear the tiles out of the ground so they'll no longer be there. So definitely go and check it out. It's currently available on Instant Watch on Netflix and probably other places online, but Netflix definitely has it. check it out. Also, you can look at the trailer on this. It doesn't really give away too much. And even the documentary itself doesn't give away too much of the mystery. That's what's so frustrating about this. I can talk about this for a really long time. So it's something I would like to have a discussion about. And so it's hard to give a review without like revealing anything, but it's very, very fascinating. So definitely, itchy face today. So definitely give this one a go. Instant watch on Netflix. Just look up Toynbee tiles, Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles. I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye and have a happy week.